Holy, that's an intense song. That's an intense song. Almost like you're not fighting Bowser in that game. Almost like you're not fighting Bowser in Super Mario Superstar Saga. What's up with that? What the hell are we playing today? Sussy Rain? Indeed. Indeed, it is a sussy rain today. Me more, 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 me more. My game crash. My keyboard turned off. Fuck. Damn it. Hang on. I gotta turn back on my keyboard. It's doing the funny. Let's see if that worked. And then I need my chat rooms. Hello, everybody. How's it been? How's it going? Technically the start of the new week. I mean, I don't know. Does the new week start on a Sunday or a Monday? Hey, Deku. Finished the project on Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker from my forensics class, and it even brought me Terraria since it's the spring sale. Ah, hell yeah, Deku. Is that what was posted in books? Forensics class sounds crazy. Oh, the chudlings, indeed. Alright, let me see. My keyboard is hitting the funny. My keyboard's hitting that funny. Let me unplug it once more, and then plug it back in again. I don't even think I need a keyboard this time around. I need it to Alt-Tab. Alright, thank you, little fungi town. Thank you, little fungi town. Alright. Oh! Hang on. There we go. Okay. Ah! Indeed. Do-do-do-do. Alright, we are back again. Turn 5, Theocratic Rizia. Ba 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 ba. My chat is also not popping up. You also can't see the screen. This is very strange. There are strange occurrences happening right now. Okay, there's that. That works. Now I just need the chat to work. Alright, well, I guess I can use that chat over there. Technically, a new day is starting. I suppose that's true. Crazy, and I hope I get in forensics once I'm out of high school, or just something like that, where I'm not in the line of duty. You want to be like forensics in the military? I learned a lot about his past, and the source because my main source was Wikipedia. Wait, okay, so Deku, what are you going to school for? Forensics? Is that a thing? Forensics and what? More sausage politics? Alright. Back to the guide, where we try to make a theocratic nation. We got a lot to read, apparently. We are... Oh, right, we started at turn 5. I ended the stream, and then we started at turn 5. Excellent. Hang on, let me get the different... Let me close these chats and then pull up different chats. I think pulling out my keyboard would fuck the chats up. Let me see. Give me a second. Pop out. Although, maybe it didn't. Okay, that's good. Bye. Pop you out. Where you check blood splatter and such. I'm in high school, and it's just a forensics class like Dexter. Are you going to college, then? Are you gonna go to college for forensics? That sounds interesting. Is that even like a college thing? Alright, let's get into it. Renewed Agno border crossing opens. A gunfire salute by the border guard marked the reopening of the Argno's renewed border crossing complex. Work swiftly started on processing the backlot of migrants that were stuck on the Morellian border waiting for construction to finish. The Republic of Morella, Prime Minister Saltanya calls emergency MITS board meeting. Following up on the recent AN discussion about the Miftian International Trade Zone, Morellan Prime Minister Alma Saltanya has pushed forward the date of the next stakeholder meeting between Morella, Rizia, Lesbia, and Volksland. We will be expected to be present our opinion regarding the nationalization of the MITs and its possible alternatives. That's gonna be soon, I think. The pale stream is halfway done. Very good. A new tyranny in revolutionary clothing. Millenniev. Interesting. Rizia now barely creeps out of the country border. Rizia. Indeed, it does. Put my phone number to chat in the server? I wouldn't. How was my week? Oh, pretty exhausting. The vibes at work were really fucking rancid today. It was fine when I started my shift. It was okay. But that's mostly because I was sitting around on my phone most of the day. But like at work, everybody was looking. Everybody was not happy to be there today. I mean, who's happy to be there at work? But today was particularly rancid. I go to college for forensics. I'm hoping there's a college class for it. Yeah. What kind of forensics do you want to do, Deku? For like the military or the police? Forensics for your local police station? Alright. Sorry. I'm eating a little snack. You need your phone number to chat in the server? Can I turn that off? Oh, right. Likely to stop spam bots. That is why I put that there. That is true. Police forensics, Deku. I see, I see. You can watch some live leak videos or snuff to desensitize myself? That's fucked up, man. Leon Melaniev, Chavatunga Kwanua, fiercely denounced totalist maximism during a rally in Kyo, calling it a new tyranny in revolutionary clothing. The sub-ideology of maximism, blending totalitarian, utilitarianism, corporatism, and nationalist autarky, seeks to create a rigid, centralized, and efficiency-driven society. Melaniev accused its proponents of reducing workers and farmers to tools of the state, subordinating individual freedoms and regional identities to the machinery of the state power. The promises of unity and strength are nothing but chains disguised as progress, he declared, lambasting the militarization of civilian life and the glorification of collective sacrifice as tools for consolidating authoritarian control. Oh. Hang on, I have to ban. There we go. Banned. Excellent. Melaniev also attacked totalism's corporatist governance, which he argued turns industries and unions into extensions of the state while masking its true goals with nationalist propaganda. He warned that its push for economic self-sufficiency and isolationism would lead to war and oppression, with entire nations reduced to factories for conquest. They seek to betray the revolution by enslaving us under the guise of progress, he thundered, drawing deafening applause from the crowd. Walker Spur's privatization wave and angered. My dad's workplace were talking about it and said some funny joke about it, saying, imagine eating a sandwich and using the blood as ketchup, things like that. I see, I see. Best of luck to you, Deku. That sounds like a pretty stable job. Who got banned? There was like a spam bot in my Twitch chat. Walker Spur's privatization wave in Agard. Arcasia's strategic influx of investments into Agard has unleashed a torrent of privatization across numerous sectors, signaling a bold shift towards market liberalization. This initiative complements Arcasia's broader economic ambitions, driving capital into a country often maligned for its narcotics-linked economy. However, this push towards privatization has not been without its detractors. as it raises alarm over the socioeconomic divides it may exacerbate. The prosperity promised by privatization is juxtaposed with the enrichment of local gang leaders, exacerbating class tensions and calling into question the distribution of newfound wealth. The transformation of Agard under Arcasia's economic tutelage is a narrative of opportunity entwined with the risk of societal upheaval. Agard, I think, is on the map, isn't it? You can see more of the map when you're playing, what's it called? Swordland. Maybe not. Well, regardless. Esquires gas field expansion, nice! With the completion of the final new offshore refining facility, the expansion of the Esquires gas field has finished. The new offshore platform greatly increases the field's output, paving the way for Rizias to continue its relevance as a producer of natural gas. Nice. Look at me, look at me. Monteclar opens new Border Guard headquarters. A brand new Border Guard headquarters has been unveiled in Monteclar, where it is to act as the center of operations for border policing activities. Nobles of House Cesara were present at the grand opening, where the commander of Rizias Border Guard received the keys from a representative of the crown. They make, I mean, they have websites where you can get fake phone numbers, I think, so. Watchtowers constructed as border restrictions tighten. Yeah, use a burner phone number. A series of watchtowers, combined with rapid reaction vessels equipped with the necessary technologies to safely push back boats, will assist the Rizian Border Guard in reducing migration by sea from Dardia and Wayland. These new measures allow the Border and Coast Guard to effectively tackle not only immigration but also smuggling of illegal substances. Local activists have warned that the measure threatens to turn the Gulf of Meridia into a graveyard. And jails. Jail's coastal processing facility opens. A new offshore migrant processing facility is crazy. Has opened at Jails, operated by the Rizian Border Guard. The facility is composed of several decommissioned container ships that have been converted into temporary holding facilities. Any migrants arriving at Rizia shores are to be held there while the Border Guard process their paperwork. That's crazy. I thought we were talking like Ellis Island type beat. Hate the fact that you can't use Wikipedia as a source when all my project I was used by Wikipedia. That's funny. It do be like that. Mercopan greats present at University Grand Opening. Great Mercopan scientists from fields like physics, mathematics, and biology have gathered in the Rizian capital to celebrate the formal opening of the Ramos Taurus University. The new educational institution has doubled the number of universities situated in Port Trizon, with close cooperation expected between the two institutions. In his inauguration speech, Lord Rector Marat Service reiterated his commitment to fostering an institution where the sciences can flourish. And then, let's start by doing decrees. Invest in both pharma and timber industry. Pharma and timber. I'm not sure if it's a construction or if it's trade. Economy. Oh, pharma and timber. Pharmaceutical industry. The Crown decrees an investment into a domestic pharmaceutical industry to produce essential medicines, such as antibiotics and vaccines. This initiative aims to enhance healthcare while building a strategic industry that will meet the nation's medical needs. With this decree, the kingdom strengthens its healthcare infrastructure and establishes a key sector for future growth. Good. As well as the timber industry. The kingdom issues a decree to expand its timber industry, focusing on the responsible harvesting and processing of lumber for construction and export. This investment will create new opportunities in rural areas, providing a critical resource for both domestic and international markets. The decree ensures the timber industry becomes a stable and sustainable source of economic growth for the kingdom. Oh, Azaro does not like that. Excellent. Me when I'm investing. Hydroelectric dam, administrative upgrades, sanctuary restoration, a coal mine, Rochist. Any Rochists? Yes. Pharmaceutical investments as well as a resource-based economy. Timber investment by the Crown. The Crown is investing in timber industry to ensure long-term economic growth, responsible resource management. With new logging and processing facilities, rural communities will benefit more from more jobs and expanded infrastructure. Officials emphasize that the industry will follow strict sustainability guidelines, balancing economic development with the preservation of our forests. This initiative not only strengthens domestic industries, but also positions Rizia as a key player in the global timber market. With this forward-thinking investment, the kingdom is ensuring a stable and prosperous future for generations to come. His Majesty... Oh, I got a big-ass hair. His Majesty has taken a significant step to secure the nation's health by launching a major investment in the domestic pharmaceutical industry. This initiative will ensure the production of life-saving medicines, including antibiotics and vaccines, reducing dependence on foreign imports and strengthening national resilience. Medical professionals are hailing this decree as a milestone in public health, with new research centers and manufacturing facilities that will create jobs and drive innovation. Hey, Kay. With this vision of self-sufficiency, the kingdom is building a future where every citizen can rely on affordable, high-quality healthcare right at home. Ah, right at home. Administrative capacity. Interesting. Interessante. Interessante. Ban the Bloods from Rizia. Bilateral agreement discussions with Wayland. Victor Schmolak, president of Wayland, had finally agreed to meet with me after several months of silence. Just ahead of my meeting with him, I convened with my council for a briefing. Hugo knocked on the table again. Thank you all for joining us here. He looked around the table at Vina, Lorento, Lucita, Elena, Sal, and Titus. Lorento, as you have the latest information from Wayland's foreign ministry, would you like to begin? What can His Majesty expect today? Lorento stood up. He paced back and forth energetically as he spoke. We are in uncharted territory, Your Grace. Oh, I see. President Schmolak's invocation of the threat mitigation protocol has been challenged, but the AN failed to meet a consensus. Essentially, he's in a position to hold Zeal hostage until his demands are met. And indeed, the new handover plan his ministers are now proposing has a 3-year timeline attached to it. Do. 3 years. That can't be standard procedure, can it? As I said. What? This is an unprecedented situation. I believe the AN is satisfied that President Schmolak has set a new deadline at all. And what makes us think that this one will be met when the last one was not? Anger danced in Lucita's eyes. She gestured at the rest of the table. This is our territory. Why are we not setting the agenda? I'm surprised the international community is not challenging an oppressive ruler like President Schmolak. The others looked at her in mild surprise. What are the people living in Zeal? Has anyone asked them how they feel about the extra 3 years of Wejek rule? Before we go that route, we should try to spin this to our advantage. We have a lot to gain from staying on Wayland's good side. This is correct, Your Majesty. My treasurer smiled conspiratorially. We may still have the opportunity to set the agenda. Any agreement Wayland proposes is bound to have an economic aspect. Considering the dire straits Wayland is in with the rest of the world, President Schmolak might be about to offer us the deal of our lives. Correct as usual, dear. Lorento opened his notebook. I will remind you all that Wayland is under partial sanctions by most of the West. The one commodity they have been trading freely is oil, but the embargo we agreed on with Rumberg has been slowing that down. The presence of the Ariana Taurus Association in Zeal has helped sway public sentiment to our side. Even so, we should handle this meeting with delicacy. Any aggression on our part can be used against us. Submission is another. We must be careful what we promise. Very true, Your Majesty. At some point, it may become necessary to call Wayland's bluff. Dented frying pans? Bonk! Ban the Bloods from Rizia. Interesting. I know this much, Your Grace. Unless concessions are made, it will take years, if not decades, to get Zeal back. Any questions thus far? Ignatius, do you have any religious affairs in Wayland can have an impact on negotiations? It very well may, Your Majesty, Sal frowned pensively. Our neighbor has long followed the path of dasnurity, and I do not fault them for it. But in the hands of the current regime, that religion has become a cudgel with which to persecute Wayland's Golcondas minority. The Bloods, you mean? Is bloodish Golcondism the same that's practiced in Dardia? There are a few divergences, mostly regarding the use of violence against an opponent who has not directly provoked you. Bloodish Golcondas scripture forbids this, though the definition of provoked is often stretched. The Dardians allow it when their supreme wiseman has deemed that it is for the greater good. No surprises there. Which resources are we able to bargain with? A good question, Your Majesty. Gold production has slowed since the latest regulations were implemented, but it's still an option. Although, if you follow through with your support of Morella and its crusade for control of the Miftian ITC, one of our most lucrative sources may soon be off limits. The regulations have also dented our small arms industry, but we can offer the data rifles. Despite our deal with the swords, we have a small wine surplus that we can sell or trade. We didn't drink it all at Callus, it only felt like we did. Vina grimaced the reminder while the other counselors chuckled. Well. If we can manage to free up the natural gas in the Arius field in time, whatever we don't sell to Rumberg will be a tradable asset. But a country as rich in oil as Wayland won't need much of it. If all else fails, we'll have a healthy budget, but I'd rather not pay Wayland what amounts to ransom money. Captain Gordian, what's the status of our internal investigation? Thank you, sir. We know certain individuals on Su Omnia's fringes have planned and carried out isolated acts of violence. But there's nothing connecting them to the group's more high-profile members or supporters, Duke Rico Torres, for example. And the few fingerprints that were found near the bomb site don't match any of the ones we have on file for Su Omnia members. Surely their involvement in the Zeal incident can be ruled out then. Not yet, sir. These people are better organized than they seem at first glance. They may well be hiding something. I see. Carry on, then. What can we expect if we don't come to an agreement? Hugo, is there any word from the House of Delegates? They have met about it, Your Majesty. The majority consensus was that the timelines of the Zeal handover should take a backseat to protecting Rizian interests. Diorite? Oh. It's quite the rock, I'll tell you that much. Oh, did you guys see the new Minecraft slime? What does it do? It eats blocks? What's up with that? All I know is that if it eats a piston block, it stretches when you let it out. Conceding too much to Wayland too quickly will earn you the ire of Baroness Durava and her party. The opposition, meanwhile, is much more amenable to compromise, particularly those party members from Brennus. That makes sense. They've been missing a piece of the province for a long enough time already. With all due respect, Your Highness, the Saisons lost the right to call Zeal theirs when their former Duke of Isa committed his act of treachery. They cannot seriously expect that it will be incorporated into Brennus as if nothing happened. The Sulfur Cube commits Block 4. Wow. This is true. It eats the stones! It eats the stones! And why not? We took Isa from them. How much more punishment does our house need to endure? Lucita looked askance at her. I do hope you're not letting emotions cloud your judgment, Your Highness. For what it's worth, I agree with the princess, and not only because a number of historic Esquibal estates are located in Zeal. What fallout can we expect if we don't come to an agreement? Lorento looked down. I highly doubt that a full deal will be reached today, only the beginnings of one. His Majesty's question stands, do we have a contingency plan? Well, that's just if our negotiations fall through, and international pressure is insufficient to force Wayland back to the table, then the responsibility will fall on Zeal itself. Lucita flashed him a skeptical look. Which means what exactly, Mr. Esquibel? If a majority of Zeal's citizens believe the territory should belong to Rizia, the Weshik government cannot simply ignore them, especially if we gather external support. They can and they will. No state peacefully gives power away. Forget I asked. I'd rather focus on negotiations for now. It doesn't have to be one or the other. In fact, playing on citizen sentiments could give us a negotiating edge. The Zeal branch of the ATA has already begun coordinating Rizian-led reunification initiative in the wake of an AN announcement. With enough pressure from both sides, both inside and outside Zeal. I'm gonna sneeze. Very important. I think the piston part is a Fingies video. Oh, okay. So, is there any information on the next update coming out, or is that just people thinking like, what is it supposed to be? With enough pressure from both inside and outside Zeal, Wayland will have to give the region back, or at the very least, hold a referendum. Zeal doesn't need a referendum, Mr. Esquibel. It needs resistance. It's cut off from the Weshik mainland. Divert enough funding and weapons to the right groups, and we can make an overthrow happen without getting our hands dirty. My dear Duchess, you and your family really must learn that bloodshed isn't the answer to everything. You know what will end in bloodshed? Telling your people in Zeal to rise against the government without giving them the means to defend themselves. Or for that matter, sending the message that our all-powerful king is placing stock in the results of people's votes. A new cave biome? The sulfur. I think we're in a good position to negotiate Zeal's return without any of that. I hope you're right. I'm as brief as I'm gonna be. Time to go meet President Schmolak. Very good, Your Majesty. He's expecting us in the downstairs diplomatic suite. Good luck, Father. Crossing my fingers for results, as am I. Don't forget there's always a backup plan. We exited the council chambers. Titus, Lorenzo, and I walked through the palace's winding corridors until we reached the first-floor diplomatic suite. We left Titus standing guard outside the door and walked in. President Schmolak was in the sitting room, flipping through a copy of the Royal Herald. He stood up and bowed to each of us. Your Majesty, Mr. Esquibel. It's truly a pleasure to be here. The pleasure is mutual, Mr. President. Thank you for meeting me. Circumstances have changed since we last met, of course, but I am confident we can come to an understanding. He set down the newspaper he'd been reading. You wouldn't believe what they're saying about me in your paper, Your Majesty. Schmolak's iron grip on Zeal, enforced by dictatorial command rather than any real respect for international law or the rights of the local population, should be seen as a threat to us all. That is indeed over the top, Mr. President. I'll ensure that my paper refrains from such slander in the future. Relax, Your Majesty. You should read what my country's paper is saying about you. He laughed loudly. The portal of the deep dark where the warden resides being a new dimension, except it's from Minecraft Legends, not the main game. I see. Interesting. You see, you and I are not as different as you might like to believe. That's true, Mr. President. Both of us only want what's best for our people. I'm sure we'll be able to come to an agreement with that in mind. Exactly. That's why I'm here today. I saw relief in Lorenzo's eyes. We've already beginning to find common ground. I'm optimistic for these negotiations. The meeting room should be ready by now. Shall we proceed? He led us into the next room over, where a set of blue upholstered armchairs were arranged around a circular table. The three of us had a seat. A palace aide came by with water and coffee. Now that you're here, Mr. Schmolak, can you explain in greater detail why you decided to postpone the Zeal handover? Schmolak took a sip of water. He slowly wiped his mustache. It's simple, Mr. Esquibel. Zeal is now home to several million citizens of Weshek origin. Under the terms of treaty our predecessors signed, they were to have the right to stay and work in the region. But the Zeal attack made it clear that those terms would not be respected without the protection of my government. I fear further violence will come to those who stay. Please just tell me, what can I do to reassure you of your citizen's safety? It's nothing personal, Your Majesty, but your partnership with Rumberg, despite all its efforts to destabilize us, is a warning sign to me. I cannot simply hand these people's lives over to the friend of my enemy. Wayland is our direct neighbor and our historical ally. We will always prioritize relations with your country over Rumberg. Lorenzo cleared his throat nervously. His Majesty is trying to say that Rizia takes Wayland's concerns very seriously. Oh shit. Good night, Graham. Thanks for stopping in, man. Pancake so delicious it made me want to make a political statement about the current state of the world. Yummy! Yummy pancakes! We're ready to take all available measures to ensure the security of your people once the region's back in Rizia's hands. That is comforting to know, Mr. Esquibel. President Schmolak smiled just a bit too widely. My ministers and I agree that before Zeal is reintegrated into Rizia, a good faith effort must be made to strengthen the bonds between our countries. Oh, hello, Soviet. Oh, that was the international. That wasn't the USSR anthem. The USSR anthem was... fuck, how does it go? I don't remember. We've therefore drafted an addendum to the original treaty, a series of measures meant to renew our old friendship. Closer cultural and economic ties could benefit both our nations. They would indeed. After all, how well can Rumberg look after you when you're so far away from each other? Lorenzo pulled a folder out of his briefcase and opened it on the table. Mr. President, we received the draft from your ministers. The terms were extremely vague. You're asking for a trade deal, a bilateral migration agreement, and a counterterrorism cooperation pact? The migration agreement. Tell me more about this trade deal. Very gladly, Your Majesty. As you may know, Wayland has found itself with an oil surplus due to decreased demand from Rumburg and other monarchies. Meanwhile, we're worried about the impact the loss of Zeal will have on the economy. We will need a way to stabilize our currency. We therefore propose a straightforward exchange of Weshek oil for Rizian gold. At that, I'm sure you'll agree is a very favorable rate. 8 barrels for every ounce, to be exact. An interesting offer, and the rate is indeed favorable. We do have other interested parties, but of course Rizia gets first priority. I've been told that your kingdom is about to come to a large amount of natural gas. But your counselors will tell you about the importance of diversifying one's energy sources. Not to mention more options for trade with our neighbors. Both of you are correct. Oil has its uses that natural gas does not, and vice versa. See, Your Majesty, your counselors are very wise. As for your gold, I know better than to question its quality, but I have concerns about the consistency of your supply. As a stakeholder in Rizia's Royal Mining Company, I have a vested interest in keeping gold production consistent. Plus a defiant. Plus a defiant. Oh. Perhaps you do, but will you be able to keep Morello from nationalizing the mitts and taking over your mines? President Schmolak, please rest assured that we will not promise you an amount of gold we are unable to deliver. However, we have other commodities that we can offer instead of or in addition to gold. Would those be of interest? If the price is right, why not? I'm a flexible man. With a grin, he held his arm up and bent his wrist nearly all the way backward. Laurento smiled patiently. I should tell you that Wayland has other commodities too, Mr. Esquivel. For instance, we're seeking to expand the market for morphine and other pharmaceutical products, not to mention Mercopa's finest tobacco. Our timber industry is also unparalleled in Mercopa. Your nobles might take a particular interest in our wood carvings. The Queen Mother always spoke highly of Weshek tobacco. She's right, your mother. A puff of Arkisha, and a sip of your wine. I can't think of a more delightful combination. Hello, Elle. I know shops in Isa's little Rocklowitz quarter that sell Keisha under the table. They can't restock it fast enough. I've heard all I need to about Weshek imports. Then you understand that Wayland is not only an oil country, just as Rizia is not only a gold one. There's plenty we can offer each other. Tell me about this bilateral migration agreement. I believe so. We're asking for a complete freedom of movement between Wayland and Rizia. It is also our wish that Wesheks residing in the country enjoy the same rights as native-born Rizians. Such an agreement. I can extend those rights to the Wesheks currently living in Zeal, but to every citizen in Wayland? Everyone or no one, Your Majesty. Otherwise, those in Zeal risk becoming isolated from their family and business connections on the mainland. If it were highly regulated, the integration of Wesheks into the Rizian workforce could be more of a benefit than a drawback. Precisely, Mr. Esquivel. Rizians can't hold a candle to my people's work ethic, truly. With that said, Mr. Schmolak, are you not worried about a potential loss of skilled workers as Weshek seeks higher compensation in Rizia? Of course, I've thought about that, but the trade agreement I have already proposed will help level out the economic disparities between our nations. It could be restored to the glory days of the 1920s. We are a diamond in the rough, Your Majesty. Set us in gold and we will shine. And the anti-terrorism pact. Ah, yes. Your Majesty, Mr. Esquivel, how much do you know about the Bloodish Freedom Front? Has cost many innocent lives. Very good, Your Majesty. They are not acting alone. Their so-called fight for peace is in reality a mass destabilization effort funded by the West. In fact, one of the BFF's biggest supporters is none other than your lovely sister-in-law. No knowledge of what the Kingdom of Rumburg does or doesn't do in Wayland. Then perhaps you should ask Her Excellency to fill you in the next time you sit down for tea. President Schmolak, I am aware that the BFF has not gone completely inactive since the retirement of Tarkeen Saul. and that they may in fact be gathering their strength. But you have not yet made it clear what you want from Rizia. Patience, Mr. Skeeple. You may be aware that most Bloods are followers of the Ruchis sect called Galkandism. Yes, the religious fanaticism makes them even more dangerous, which is being awful. Their beliefs are shared by the Republic of Dardia, which has been granted sanctuary even to the most notorious bloodish criminals. My request is simple. All Weshik Bloods and Dardian citizens are to be turned away from Rizian border. That's it? Exactly. That's all I ask. Mr. Schmolak, we're prepared to increase your border security, but an outright ban on Bloods and Dardians will be seen as religious discrimination. With a ban limited to only those with bloodish identification documents, we would have far easier time implementing it. Surely you understand. What I understand is that bloodish refugees have a fast track to Dardian citizenship. By allowing Dardian passport holders into Rizia, you may as well be opening your doors to the BFF. These are my terms, you may take them or leave them. Unless... Unless what? Well, Your Majesty, let's say the Republic of Wayland decided to take a more proactive approach to the BFF problem. Lorento nervously adjusted his tie. If your kingdom promised to directly aid us in that, it would, of course, be far more valuable than any form of border control. If we don't nip terrorism in the bud now, we will pay a steep price later. Yeah, see? Wayland and Rizia have so much in common. What exactly are you planning, President Schmolak? Do you require the services of our armed forces? Nothing so vulgar, Mr. Eskeeple. It is our long-term goal to drive the insurgents out of their strongholds in the north of our country. Once that happens, we suspect some will flee south towards Zeal. I had a plan, but it seems the Rizian Navy is too small to assist us. If that's the case, there's little point in asking you to stop them from crossing the strait. One day our navy will expand, but not today. A wise leader knows when to pick his battles. I can respect that. Let's hope that day comes. There are always other terms we can look at. Lorento took one last glance at his folder, then looked up at us both. I believe we've covered everything, gentlemen. Everything except for which of these measures will actually be implemented and how. Yes, well, that's still to be decided upon. Your Majesty, any agreement we make today will go into effect as soon as possible, but the Zeal handover will not. We're looking for a long-term partnership with Rizia. You cannot simply tear up this treaty as soon as you get what you want. So we're asking for a 3-year probationary period. If all is still well between Wayland and Rizia by the end of that time, we will be able to return Zeal with full confidence. We don't need 3 years. We'll get you everything you asked for in 3 months. We would prefer to have proof of Rizia's reliability in the long term. Lorento finished jotting something down on his notepad. Thank you for your explanation, Mr. Schmolak. This has been very informative. Would you mind waiting in the sitting room while His Majesty and I decide on Rizia's half of the agreement? It would be my pleasure. Schmolak exited the room backwards, bowing as he did so. Quite a lot to think about, Your Majesty. I got a draft document right here if you're ready. Perfect. Let's get to work. Think of everyone in Zeal, Your Majesty. We're doing this for them. For them. He handed me the treaty amendment draft and I began going through it. Excellent. 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 Sleep with a small blanket or a big blanket? A big blanket, of course. Why would I want to sleep with a small blanket? That's silly. Well, I guess you could hold on to the small blanket. That makes sense. Amendment to the Zeal Agreement of 27. Being renegotiated to strengthen the economic, cultural, and political ties between the nations of Wayland and Rizia. Wayland wants to meet certain new conditions in a new comprehensive bilateral agreement. Choose Weshik goods to be imported from Rizia under the new trade agreement. And we don't want to import anything? We don't want to import anything. Export. We want to export wine, energy, and arms. Wine, arms. I can't export energy because I don't have energy. Counterinsurgency aid. Do not provide help against the BFF. Counterterrorism border patrol. Wayland has proposed new measures to prevent Bloodish Freedom Front members from crossing the Rizian border. They're calling for Dardian passport holders and those holding Bloodish identification documents to be banned from entering the kingdom by our border. We want to ban the Bloodish, not both the Dardians. And we want full and equal rights for Weshik citizens. Sweet. Decide on the status of Weshik citizens living in Rizia. Wayland is asking you to grant full freedom of movement and equal rights to his citizens, including the right to work, own property, and access social services. Let me look at this again. So we're not importing anything. Done. We are exporting wine, energy, and arms. Wine and arms for me. We are not promising aid. We will ban bloods. We will grant full and equal rights to Weshex. Oof. That's why you chose small? Smart. Hadn't even considered it. Lorento noted each decision I made in the margins of the document. When we had finished going through everything, he sat back and raised an eyebrow. Wayland should have no trouble accepting this, Your Majesty. The question is, will Rizia? He asked an aide to call Schmolak back into the room. The president of Wayland wiped Rosetta crumbs off of his mustache as he entered. What a delicious tart your people have invented. Now imagine it with a crust made of our strudel pastry. But first things first, let's have a look at this treaty. Lorento handed him the annotated draft, and he flipped through it eagerly. As he reached the end, his eyes filled with glee. We could definitely work with this, Your Majesty. I have to say, I was not expecting such generosity from you, assuming, of course, that you're planning on fulfilling these promises. I, too, wish for our countries to resume our former partnership. We will resume it, Your Majesty. Together, we will be stronger than ever before. Lorento quickly paged through the treaty document again. Considering our country's respective situations, we have indeed promised you quite a lot. I hope you will remember our kingdom's generosity in future dealings. I will, Mr. Esquivel, but first, I need to see actions, not just words. I wish I had time to celebrate, but Raklowitz awaits. Next time you visit us, we will smoke quiche together. You'll discover what you're missing out on. Sounds like a plan, Mr. President. Lorento rose from his seat. An aide will show you out while we finish up here, Mr. Schmolak. Thanks again for your time. Thank you, Mr. Esquivel. And you, of course, King Ramos. Shake his hand. I stood up and extended my hand. He clasped it in both of his and shook it vigorously. Until next time, Your Majesty. Oh, hey, cat lover. We accompanied Schmolak to the door of the suite. He bowed one last time as an aide ushered him down the hall towards the exit. Lorento and I looked at each other for a long couple of moments. We have quite the task ahead of us, don't we? But I'm confident we'll rise to the challenge. Our new era of cooperation with Wayland begins today. Begins now. Your confidence and your assistance are both much appreciated. I am only doing my royal duty. Lorento gathered up the documents that were scattered across the table. Together, we left the suite. Oh, fuck! What a big-ass negotiation, man. Fuck! Mr. President, we have to check your penis size. Zeal resistance funding. I don't think we want to. Don't fund anything else in Zeal. Gotcha. We don't want to do that, but let's get some reading going. Oh, a lot of shit going on. Damn. Today Cesaro discharged from the hospital. Wow, General Cesaro has returned home after spending an extended period in the hospital due to a stroke. Family patriarch is still suffering from convulsions, but will now focus on recovering further at the Cesaro's palace in Monteclar. Damn. Carlos Cesaro returns from arms exhibition in Lesbia. General Carlos Cesaro, accompanied by a select group, attended the arms industry and equipment exhibition at the Canavi Exhibition Center in Lesbia, where the latest advances in military technology were showcased. Following his visit, General Cesaro has returned to Rizia and is preparing a detailed presentation for His Majesty. His report is expected to outline key findings from the exposition and highlight potential applications for Rizia's defensive strategy. Good to know, good to know. Raklowitz. Half-full military equipment stockpile. Unequal treatment of foreigners. Equal rights for Vejex. Sue Omnia destabilizing incidents. Discontent Dasanuris community. 1953 amendments to the Zeal Agreement. And ban only bloodish people from the border. Arms exports to Wayland. Wine exports to Wayland. Look at us, dude. Look at us. It's a lot of news. Equal rights extended to Vejex. Look at us, man. Whoop. King Ramos has enacted a historic amendment to the Zeal Agreement, granting equal rights to Wayland citizens residing in Rizia. This landmark decision strengthens the kingdom's dedication to justice and equality, setting a new standard for inclusive governance. The royal decree is expected to significantly improve the quality of life for Vejex and Zeal and beyond, ensuring access to employment, education, and healthcare on equal terms. Far from disadvantaging native-born Rizians, the initiative seeks to enhance societal unity, weaving a future of shared prosperity and mutual respect between all the residents of the kingdom. Yes, dude. Rizia Wayland signed preliminary deal for Zeal return. After a meeting behind closed doors in Port Trezon, His Majesty Ramos Torres and President Victor Schmolak of Wayland announced that they had reached a preliminary agreement regarding the return of Zeal. Because Wayland will keep its hold on the region until all the conditions in the deal are met, experts say it could take 3 years or longer before the handover is finally completed. Still, we regard this agreement as a progress towards a reunited Rizia and look forward to the day when safety, security, and prosperity are restored to our lost lands. Let's see. Arcasia's economic growth slows to 5%. Oh my god. Put me. The economic powerhouse of Arcasia confronts a new reality as its once exponential growth rate eases to 5%, highlighting emerging fiscal challenges amid a shifting economic paradigm. The downturn from a previous high of 9% signifies potential vulnerabilities in Arcasia's domestic financial policies and its adaptability to global market shifts. In response, the Arcasian government has increased its bond issuance, a move still finding favor among investors despite economic headwinds. This period of slowed growth injects a dose of caution into Arcasia's economic discourse as policymakers and international observers speculate on the nation's next steps to recalibrate its economy and maintain its stature on the world economic stage. We'll see how that goes, man. AAC tracks undeclared companion satellites. The Arcasian Armed Forces have detected multiple undeclared satellites in orbit believed to belong to UC. Radar systems at Arcasia Air Command confirmed the objects earlier this month, identifying them as military-grade with suspected reconnaissance capability. Colonel Eduardo Brecini of the Arcasian Intelligence Bureau stated, "These satellites pose a clear threat to Western security and jeopardize our newly established space program." Chancellor Inos Adramir of Kairut has called for an international treaty requiring the declaration of orbital assets, warning that unchecked militarization of space threatens global security. The Zeal handover officially postponed. After Wayland invoked the AN threat mitigation protocol in order to justify its continued hold on the Zeal region, the Rizia's challenge of this motion ended in a gridlock. We at Geopolitical have been watching closely for any indication that a new handover date has been set. Now, there appears to be an update. King Ramos Torres and President Victor Schmolak have agreed on a 3-year timeline, contingent on Rizia meeting Wayland's conditions. Given Wayland's turbulent past and present and the wealth of resources concentrated in Zeal, we remain skeptical that this new appointment will be honored. Morella to demand nationalization at upcoming MITS meeting. Indeed. Indeed. Now, this is going to be a cookie for sure. According to sources close to Morellan PM, Almas Altania, Morella is planning to demand that the MITS is returned back to their ownership, effectively endangering the profitable partnership between all the nations sharing the zone. This drastic shift in policy shows the commitment of the new Morellan government to focus on the needs of its people and their environment, as serious concerns about workers' rights violations and environmental hazards keep plaguing the MITS. Sultania appears convinced that nationalization is the best way to guarantee these issues are solved, and is expected to be backed by Vogsland's Hegel in her stance. Fascinating. Don't fund anything in Zeal. Zeal resistance funding. We have the option to fund resistance movements in the Zeal region. These could help increase pressure on the Veshik government to return Zeal to Rizia, but they could also destabilize the area, further justifying Wayland's decision to hold on to it for national security reasons. We will fund neither. Friendly. Very good. We'll get the Zeal region back, and along with Pales. Pales D's nuts. Alright, what else should we do? Valid Queers Crisis, go for the restoration projects. Addressing Valanqueer's environmental crisis. Uh-oh. The Valanqueer's region, renowned for its natural splendor and vital industries, faces an environmental crisis. Recent economic developments have led to significant ecological damage, affecting tourism, agriculture, and the local wine industry. This dire situation calls for decisive action to mitigate the environmental impact and restore the region's health. Go for the restoration project. Implement restoration projects. Gotcha. Specialists from the Plavo University. Bloodish immigration ban implemented at Wayland border, Salabas port. Guards at the Wayland-Rizia border, as well as the port of Salabas, have been instructed to deny entry to any citizen of Wayland carrying bloodish identification papers. Interesting. Reform movement grows. Responding to the reform movement. Do not give campaign money to the RNC? No. The reform movement has surged dramatically, becoming a national force impossible to ignore. Massive rallies organized by the RPP and reformist groups are drawing hundreds of thousands. Calls for democratization echoing in every major city. The majority of the public is reported to be in support of the RPP's push for a new constitution. Pressure is mounting on the government to respond. This one's not mentioned at all, huh? Unless it is, I'm stupid. Gang war? I guess I'll do nothing then. I'll do nothing and I'll like it. Take no action. Radical elements organize. Oh, here we go. This is one of them. I think? I don't remember. Radical elements of Rizzi are becoming more organized and vocal. Particularly several revolutionary groups who are now under strict surveillance by the Rizzian intelligence have been advocating for dismantling traditional power structures, shifting towards a socialist system. The leading workers' rights advocate, Adolfo Sotoletto, who is also suspecting of having ties to Vogsland, has gained popularity among these groups and is increasingly assuming the role of a leader for the growing Rizzian radicals. While these groups appear to be peaceful, the intelligence warns that if their influence grows further, their extreme rhetoric may gain traction among those dissatisfied with the crown. Keep following the situation. Sure, why not? Anton Rain's presidency. Swordland's new era begins. Swordland welcomes President Anton Rain as its president, ushering in an era of anticipated transformation amidst economic trials. Rain's swift political climb is emblematic of the electorate's yearning for reform and economic revitalization. His approach to government will be pivotal in navigating Swordland through its recessionary phase. As President Rain commences his term, allies and adversaries alike measuring the implications for the regional power balances in eastern Mercopa and beyond. With Swordland at a critical juncture, Rain's leadership could chart a path for resurgence or retreat. Indeed. Exciting. The Watchtower of Human Rights, concerned with Zeal crackdowns, has expressed its worry about the increasing crackdowns by Wezek officials in Zeal. An extensive report published by the organization lists extrajudicial arrests, disappearance of prisoners, and bans on demonstrations as common practice across the region. WER has called on Wayland to allow more observers and journalists into the region, something that has been increasingly difficult ever since stronger travel restrictions were put in place. The organization specifically stressed that the fight against terror cannot mean compromising on basic human rights, but refrained from condemning the delay on the region's return to Zeal or whatever it is. Radicals infiltrate the reform movement. Radical groups led by figures like Adolfo Sotoletto have firmly infiltrated the reform movement and are now steering the agenda toward extreme goals. These radicals are positioning themselves as the voice of the movement, sidelining moderates and increasing tensions across the country. They openly talk about revolutionary change, including abolishing the monarchy and restructuring the government along millennialist lines. Rizzi intelligence warns that the growing influence of these radicals could soon lead to widespread unrest. Hey, bucket of rusty doorknobs. Good name. Take no immediate action. I don't think it's really a concern at all. Gather at the MITS board. God. Looks like I skipped a lot. I'm going straight to the MITS meeting. Okay. The thrum of helicopter blades was almost deafening as we prepared for our descent into the Miftian International Trade Zone. Thoughts on Utah? As a state? I don't know. Not much. I don't know anything about it, really. I looked out the window. We were above the Miftian Basin, an expansive dried-up lake containing millions of years' worth of sedimentary deposits. The past decades of industrial activity have turned it into a mosaic of underground and open-pit mines linked by roads, railways, and makeshift canals. Smoke rose from the surrounding refineries, turning the sky a musty shade of orange. My eyes followed a cargo-laden freight train as it departed the Miftian station. Next to me in the helicopter, Elena noticed it as well. One of Lesbia's by the looks of it. The gold will be shipped out to Mordian importance and reach Venno Robin by this evening. The birthplace of lesbian protectionism, relying on international partners for gold imports. Tell me how that squares up. Prime Minister Alvarez's pocket. With one or two detours in between, but yes, Alvarez has no small personal stake in the operation here. I recall you took a rather pro-Morella stance on the Alliance of Nations session. Are you still leaning in that direction? I want to respect Morella's wishes, but we can't ignore the Mitz's great economic importance to our kingdom. No, we can't. I'm sure we can reach a compromise that doesn't result in a total loss for us. We gently touched down on the helipad of the Cooperation Center, the building where Mitz's board meetings and other diplomatic functions were held. We were immediately met by a large security retinue and ushered inside the reception hall where the welcome ceremony was taking place. I don't know, Utah. I thought it was a beer until weeks ago. Nice. That's funny. Alma Sultana greeted us by the entrance. A security staff member showed Elna to her seat while I followed the Morellan Prime Minister to the front of the hall. Thank you for coming, Mr. Taurus. A pleasure to see you again, Prime Minister Sultana. And you. I hope you've been well since our encounter at the AN. I was glad to hear you were able to reach an understanding with Wayland. It gives me hope for today's talks. If you are as open to negotiations as President Schmolak was, I don't foresee a problem. I assure you that I am. She gestured for me to follow her. I'd like to start straight away, but my advisors have persuaded me that diplomatic protocols must be followed. A stage has been set up by backdrop by our country's 4 flags. Patricio Alvarez was already sitting there, looking somewhat bored. I took my place next to him. He didn't acknowledge me. Good afternoon, Mr. Prime Minister. Greetings, Your Majesty. We both fell silent. I noticed a certain bleariness in his eyes. I wondered whether his decision to quit drinking had lasted. The hall began to fill up with dignitaries, ministers, and heads of corporations. Rusty Montaro was in the back row, talking animatedly to a lesbian politician. He didn't so much as glance in my direction. The door to the hall suddenly swung open. Emmerich Hagel entered, accompanied by a pair of bodyguards. He and Prime Minister Sultana exchanged cheek kisses. Alvarez could barely disguise his look of scorn. They're not your friends, you know. They're out to bleed us both dry. Don't worry, I won't let him. He gave a curt nod before turning back toward the cameras. Sultana and Hagel joined us on the stage. The Vogslandian Chancellor shook my hand with an encouraging smile. Nod. I nodded at him. The 4 of us posed for photographs. The Morellan national anthem was playing, then those of Vogsland, Rizia, and finally Lesbia. That shows who takes priority, doesn't it? It's just a ceremony, Mr. Alvarez. Don't read too much into it. When the music died down, we were escorted to a conference room together with our key ministers, security detail, and a number of legal advisors. Once we were seated, Prime Minister Sultana spoke. Thank you for carving time out of your schedules to join me today, gentlemen. She looked around the table at each of us. Over 35 years ago, our country signed an agreement regarding the sharing of resources in the Miftian Basin. At that time, Morella was capable neither of exploring the full potential of the gold located here, nor of fending off raids from our Dardian neighbors. It was only with the cooperation of Rizia, Vogsland, and Lesbia that the Miftian International Trade Zone could become the thriving industry center it is today. However, our predecessors failed to recognize the social and moral responsibility that comes with such an economic endeavor, and Morella paid the price. Stay silent. I didn't say anything. All of us, Morella included, have benefited from the contract that allows us to pay ITZ workers less and grant them fewer protections than in our individual home countries. At the same time, the area around the trade zone has been turned into a dumping ground for toxic chemicals, to the detriment of our water system and the people who depend on them. There is only one way forward. The MITs must be restored to Morellan ownership. Hey Jackson, what's up? Alvarez audibly scoffed. Is this actually what you believe, Miss Sultania, or are you just parroting the words of Chancellor Hegel? I let Sultania respond. I understand that you are not happy with Morella's new direction, Mr. Alvarez, but please don't discount my agency as Prime Minister. The current cooperation between Morella and Vogsland is based on mutual respect. There is no string pulling. What would it take for Maurizia and Morella to achieve such a cooperation? If your nation gives credence to my wishes, I am more than willing to do the same. Chancellor Hegel and I have begun work on our proposal to transfer ownership of the MITs to the Morellan state. The assets currently owned by Vogsland, Rizia, and Lesbia would be purchased by a new Morellan-owned company formed specifically for the governance of the MITs. Each country would then have the opportunity to buy shares in that company. The Republic of Vogsland has already agreed to forego that opportunity. Sultania nodded. Should Rizia and Lesbia choose to buy shares, they could still continue operations in some capacity, albeit under strict oversight and with more input from workers. What game is this? This is Suzerain. It's like a visual novel. Sounds like a fair enough deal. It most certainly is not fair. Madam Prime Minister is ignoring the massive investments our countries have poured into the MITs over the past decades. Morella wouldn't even have been able to make a dent in the ground without lesbian technology. Now you want to cast us off like last season's furs. Morella recognizes and appreciates your contributions to the MITs, which is why your input will be solicited should we vote to proceed with nationalization. Gotcha, Jackson. Have fun, man. It's a good game. And if we vote not to proceed, what then? Then we will have to go back to the drawing board. In the case of a split decision, we would have to renegotiate the initial MITs agreement until a way forward is found. Hey, Seal, what's up, man? But Morella will no longer accept the status quo. Nor will Vogsland. But Lesbia stands firm in our conviction that the ownership of the MITs should not change. Rusty? Rusty? If His Majesty knows what's good for his kingdom, he'll agree with me. Everyone seated at the table turned to look at me. Elna cleared her throat. Are you ready for the vote, Your Majesty? Say you're against nationalization, but are open to negotiations. A few more questions to the board. Yes, I know what my decision is. Good, then let's proceed. Sultania motioned to her secretary to take notes. We'll use an open voting procedure going clockwise around the table. The Republic of Morella casts its vote in favor of nationalization. Vogsland casts its vote in favor of nationalization. Lesbia, being a sound mind, casts its vote against nationalization. It was my turn. Prime Minister Sultania leaned forward eagerly as Alvarez eyed me warily. Against nationalization, I'm open to renegotiating our original agreement to recognize the contributions and sacrifices made by the nation of Morella. Hegel glared at me. So your words of the AN were merely for show. A monarch will never have the compassion for the downtrodden. It's not in his nature. God his ass. God his ass, man. God his ass. Take heart, Comrade Hegel. If the King of Rizia is truly willing to build a fair and more sustainable ITZ with us, then today was not a total loss. I turned to look at Alvarez. He had a plastic smile on his face. Yes! I too am willing to work on a new ITZ agreement that takes into account the complaints Prime Minister Sultania has made today. We can all be proud of what we have accomplished in this room today. We should inform our guests of the decision. Let's get back to the reception hall. The Rizian, Vogslandian, and Lesbian delegations slowly began filing out of the conference room. Next to me, Elna spoke under her breath. Very good, Your Majesty. Voting against nationalization while not completely dismissing Morella's concerns was the safest choice. I don't mind some gentlemanly negotiations. We can afford it. Well, don't go too overboard with your promises. As Alvarez and I stood up, I saw him take another sip from his flask. He noticed my gaze and nodded slightly. We're making deals with the millennialists now. It's the only way forward that benefits everyone. Does it, Your Majesty? I'll tell you right away that I don't intend to lose a damn cent. He stepped past me and out the door. Hegel was still seated. I could feel his eyes boring into me. Smile. I smiled at him. He gave me the same mysterious smile as he had before. We walked back into the stage of the reception hall and awaited Prime Minister Sultania's announcements. The lesbian delegation. Right. The Kingdom of Lesbia. I love being... My neighbor is Lesbia. The Girl Kisser Council. Agreed, dude. Agreed. There's a lot of decisions that need to be made that are like added in a weird order on this list. General Carlos Azaro visits the royal estate. General Carlos Robles Azaro recently visited the Azaro family estate in Cardes Monteclar to meet with General Tadeus Azaro, who's still recovering from his stroke. Omega lol. Alright. Bye, Bucket. Sources indicate that General Carlos and General Tadeus held a private discussion, likely addressing Rizia's current security challenges and strategic priorities. Despite his fragile health, General Tadeus remains an influential figure in military affairs, while General Carlos continues to assume a critical role in ensuring stability over the region. Oh, megalol. Salabas anti-monarchy protests. Substantial rallies occur in Salabas, with protesters calling for a new decentralized constitutional agreement. Whoa. Their focus is on achieving self-governance, as expressed through slogans and banners. Oof. The Lesbian Kingdom and the Rizza Kingdom. Dude, truly. Home visit to General Tadeus Azaro. Our goal is safe. King wisely rejects nationalization plan. Survey shows lack of stable housing, affecting birth rates. A survey among the citizenry of major Rizian cities has shown a direct correlation between falling child birth rates and a decrease in stable living conditions, with many families forced to frequently move apartments as eviction rates rise. Several prominent nobles and nationalist campaigners have drawn attention to the issue, loudly proclaiming the future of the Rizian population is at stake if no action is undertaken. The MITS agreement is now set to be renegotiated. Excellent. Let's see. The RNC requests election campaign fund. Okay, here we go. Jeez. Rizian National Coalition leader Daria Darava seeks financial backing from the crown to secure the Royalist Party position against the opposition. Our decision on funding could sway the election outcome, shaping the political future of our kingdom. As the House of Delegates election campaign for 54 begins, the RNC promises to support the monarchy. Do not give campaign money to the RNC. Don't fund the campaign. Oof. They ain't gonna like that one. Monarchy stays neutral in electoral funding. In a display of fairness, the Crown has decided not to fund any party in the upcoming election. This move upholds the noble principle of political neutrality and respects the ability of Rizians to choose their leader's party without expressive royal financial influence. It's a stance that's been questioned by many royalists and could set a precedent for future electoral processes in the kingdom. Internal security meeting. Plavo. Arch Sanctuary faces delay due to lack of specialists. We want to send Plavo, I believe. Which we cannot. Oh. Use specialists from Plavo. That's weird. Restoration of Plavo Arch Sanctuary. Cardes Monteclar talent? Hindered new shortage of skilled restoration specialists. The options include hiring esteemed restoration experts from Port Drazon, known for their work on religious rites, sites seeking skilled artisans for the global market, or maintaining the current pace with the local team. Use the specialists from Plavo University. Do they mean Ramos Taurus University? Is this just a misspelling? I'm gonna use the university, specialists from the university, assuming that's what they mean. Scholars join restoration efforts. Renew expertise will bring the sacred sites Golden Dome and Catacombs closer to completion. Oh yeah, okay. Hello, Lillian. Hello, Leilani. Do I want to be friends on Roblox? No thanks. Oh, unless you're asking Jackson, then I don't care. Hugo, Lucita, and Titus rose to their feet the moment I stepped into the council chambers. Life is Roblox. My return journey from Morella had just concluded, and within hours of being back on Rizian soil, I was called for an internal security meeting. Good evening, Your Majesty. I'm glad you could join us. Hopefully they don't put their usernames in chat. Hopefully they don't put their usernames in chat. Thanks for coming on short notice. I know you must have many other pressing appointments. Nothing is more pressing than Rizia's security. Agreed, Your Majesty. 100%. I sat in my designated seat at the head of the table. Hugo, Lucita, and Titus took their respective seats. Aides placed folders full of information in front of each of us, and glasses of water were poured. Your Majesty, the main reason we called you here is that there's been a breakthrough in the Friendship Day bombing investigation. I detected reluctance in his eyes as he signaled for Titus to proceed. Indeed, Your Majesty. Upon a careful examination, I've discovered that there is indeed evidence linking Su Omnia to the incident. However, their involvement is quite different from what I believed any of us were expecting. Keep the Golden Guard investigating Waylon and Su Omnia. Place the police under Lucita. Okay, I'm listening. One of the Su Omnia members my team was surveilling is employed at a fertilizer plant just outside Iza. Terra Growth Agrochem. Please don't put your Roblox, please don't post any usernames in my chat. You will be... Your messages will simply be deleted for now. We managed to obtain samples of certain materials produced by this plant. A thorough examination revealed an exact match with the residue found at the bombing site. Nod and continue listening. Of course, further investigation is needed in order to establish a definitive link between the Zeal bombing, the organization, and the factory employee in question. There's one crucial piece of the puzzle that you have not mentioned, Captain Gordian. Titus smiled thinly, his irritation evident. I was just about to bring that up, Duchess Azaro. Despite being located in Rizia, the fertilizer plant is, in fact, state-owned by Pales. However, the likelihood of Su Omnia acting independently, unrelated to Pales, seems more likely. Pales, are you sure? I'm sure that the plant is owned by Pales. As for their involvement with the bombing, I can't say for certain. Well, what we can be certain about is that this may warrant a closer investigation in their activities in the region. Zeal, more like Seal. Agreed. I maintain my belief that the explosion was set up to frame Su Omnia and the Rizian nationalist movement. However, I am not convinced that the Pelesian government was involved either. Tell me, Duchess Azaro, what would Pales have to gain from masterminding the Friendship Day incident? It's possible the bombing was part of a larger strategy to establish themselves as a dominant power in the region. That would track with their aggressive pursuit of the Arius gas field. Yes, I doubt it was a coincidence that the bombing occurred in the middle of the gas field explorations. Sowing discord between Rizia and Waylon might have been a way to create enough destabilization that we'd be entering negotiations from a place of vulnerability. Motive has been established, but that's still not enough to convict Pales of any international court. Yes, as I said, we need to dig deeper. Titus cleared his throat impatiently. I will not completely dismiss the validity of Duchess Azara's argument. I personally don't believe any further investigation into the Pelesian connection is warranted. Yes, the case against Su Omnia appears much more clear-cut to me. Hugo gritted his teeth. I respectfully disagree. If there's even the slightest possibility Pales may have engineered this, we need to get to the bottom of it. Hugo glanced at his notes. Either way, we will have to channel more resources into this investigation in order for it to continue. And in order to make the best use of those resources, we should choose our focus. Unlike Hugo, I believe Sue Omnia's involvement can be ignored, and we should dive deeper into their operations. I think both our options have their merits, but I'm inclined to investigate Pale's. What's more, I can easily delegate this task to the intelligence forces we've already stationed there, and we wouldn't have to spend an extra cent. She looked over at Titus. Of course, it would mean that the case would once again fall under your jurisdiction of Rizia's security department, not your extra-legal operatives. A wise and frugal suggestion, Duchess Cesaro. I've made up my mind. Here's what we're gonna do. Hugo, Lucita, and Titus all looked at with anticipation of my decision. So, I have to keep the Golden Guard investigating Waylon and Sue Omnia and place the police under Lucita. Gotcha. Pales but the King, Captain Gordian shall continue the investigation with a focus on Sue Omnia. Pales. Captain Gordian shall continue his investigation with a focus on Sue Omnia. Hugo's brows furrowed as he clenched his fist. Pursuing this path won't lead us anywhere productive. Alright, well, you guys had your fun. Thanks for coming. You simply cannot follow the rules that I have laid out. But I will speak of it no further. As always, your judgment prevails. What happened? I think it was either 2 children or 2 bots exchanging usernames in my other chat. Well, they have each other's usernames now, so I hope they find each other. Hugo shuffled some papers around. Now that that's been settled, I believe there's been a number of other, less urgent security issues up for discussion. There are indeed. Where would you like to start, Your Majesty? I expect you have some news for me regarding Iza. Your Majesty, the situation in Iza remains fraught with challenges. Your decision to elevate the status of the Weshik population has certainly won the Crown supporters in Little Raklowitz. Unfortunately, that has done little to curb tensions. In fact, it's emboldened migrants to openly defy the police. My son has been overwhelmed trying to restore order. His men are stretched to their limits. Lucita straightened in her seat, seemingly eager to intervene. Unfortunately, Your Grace, I believe your son is part of the problem. While Captain Gordian's investigation has hampered Sue Omnia activities, Duke Ricardus has basically been using the municipal police as a replacement. We're seeing increased violence, and there's been reports of clashes in the streets. Seems the decision has backfired. I will stand by my recommendation. Given what we've seen so far, handing the Duke extra units would be a disaster. However, we can't stand by and do nothing. The provincial police in Brennus have offered their cooperation. Their attitude towards foreigners is certainly in line with the Crown's, although I'm concerned they'll let legitimate crimes committed by migrants slip through the cracks. Seems the situation of this magnitude calls for an intervention from the Crown. My thoughts exactly. I believe we should honor the Duke's request for reinforcements from Central Police without placing them under his jurisdiction. Hugo fixed her with a stare. And whose jurisdiction should they be under? Yours, I suppose? Well, yes. Allowing my department to take over law enforcement will leave the Duke free to focus on his other governing duties. Damn. Titus can do all this politics and still stop War Boss Grimskull's invasion of Forge World Greya? Agreed. Agreed, Seal. Agreed. I like... What makes you think you'll succeed where he failed? Your Majesty, look at my track record as Duchess of Monteclar. I know a thing or two about restoring order. And we do want to place the police under Lucita. Central Police are needed to quell the unrest, but should operate independently. It's evident that the Central Police are needed to quell the unrest, so I will deploy them to Iza and place them under Rico. Your suggestion to deploy the Brennus Police independently holds merit, especially in garnering favor. I firmly believe no extra police presence is needed. I will look into other means. Should operate independently from local authorities, therefore, I will place them under Lucita's command. My son is trying to maintain order in Iza, denying him his power. Thank you for your confidence, Your Majesty. Rest assured, their allegiance will be to the Crown, not to any faction. Do not give campaign money to the RNC. Gang wars. Gang wars. Any gang wars?
Threats from within the populace. I've heard some worrying reports. It does appear that a very large number of citizens of various parts of the kingdom have been joining rallies organized by the opposition. So far, the protests have been under control, but the reform movement's growing in size, and the evidence of growing radicalism among these groups points to a real potential threat. We're worried they signify a broader discontentment and dissatisfaction that has been festering among the populace. Tell me more about the character of these. Overall, it's a multifaceted issue. Autonomy, political power, economic equity are all intertwined in these problems. Specifically, the Daenerys community feels that the religious traditions they have long held sacred are being ignored, even spat on. Human rights situation in Rizia is apparently concerning to some. There are actions being organized in protests of Rizia's worsening living standards. The welfare protesters are claiming that the Crown has yet to address the demand for increased health and education funding. When it rains, it pours, doesn't it? That's putting it lightly. Lucita tapped the dossier. We also need to address the growing discontent in certain provinces. Would you care to comment on the stirrings of dissent in Cardes Monteclar, Duchess Lazaro? All eyes turned to Lucita. If there are such stirrings, they're only temporary. Bizaros will ensure that the troublemakers face swift and severe consequences. Good, that's what I'd like to hear. I trust you're overseeing this closely, Duchess. We must maintain order at all costs. I should ask the rebelling people to stop politely. Agreed. As to the nature of the unrest, I'm still gathering information on the ground. I don't have specific examples at this time. We will work to find a solution, even if it means taking adjustments to state policy. Counterterrorism agreement with Wayland. No thanks. I think that's enough for today. Hugo rose from his seat. No objection from me. I wouldn't mind getting to bed early tonight, anyway. After saying their goodbyes, Hugo, Lucita, and Titus took their leave. I checked my watch. We concluded the briefing in a timely manner. The weight of our internal security discussion still lingered in the air as I stood alone in the room. With a somber nod to the vacant chairs, I departed, ready to face the responsibilities that lay beyond the meeting room. My authority! Royal Herald officially endorses Rizian National Coalition in provincial elections. Rizia's mysterious silence on Zeal Friendship Day bomb raises eyebrows. Tragedy strikes as migrant ship capsizes in Gulf of Meridia. That's funny. And bad, actually. That's actually really bad. Rumberg coming south? Could be me. RPP turns Isa into a sea of yellow. Uh-oh. Yikers. Thousands of yellow flags and people wearing yellow clothes filled the streets of Isa over the past week, culminating in a rally featuring a speech by Manus Saison and an art performance of the Ghosts of Democracy, the new mascot for the RPP's electoral campaign. With this unique display of the force, the RPP has set itself up for a strong and recognizable campaign. The RNC kicks off the election campaign. An evening at the palace. Gang wars. On the palace balcony, I sought refuge from the relentless affairs of the state. The grandeur of the night sky spread before me, stars puncturing the obsidian expanse like celestial jewels. They pissed on Isa. I took a piss in Ibiza. Damn. He took a piss in Ibiza, man, to show Avicii he was cool. Wow. The city's distant light shimmered, a testament to life continuing beyond the palace walls. Amid this tranquil backdrop, I found a brief respite from the responsibilities that weighed on my shoulders. It was during this peaceful interlude that Captain Gordian approached. His presence on the balcony hinted at an urgent matter, a reminder that, as a monarch, even moments of solitude could be fleeting. Good evening, Your Majesty. Hey, Jonas. Couldn't go to my live streams because you broke your leg and your arm. I hope you're doing okay, dude. That sounds awful. To what do I owe the pleasure, Captain? I'm here to discuss that personal matter you asked me to look into. The one concerning His Majesty, King Valero. Really? In that case, let's hear it. Allow me to begin by stating that I've made significant headway in identifying potential culprits. So you do suspect foul play? Regrettably, yes. Multiple individuals raised strong suspicions. Titus looked around discreetly as if making sure there was no one else with us. My initial list of suspects comprised 4 individuals. Azaro, Ignatius, your uncle, and your mother. I hope you've narrowed it down from there. Yes, that's what I'm here to talk about. Alright, let's go down the list. Starting with whom? Tell me more about my uncle. Why him? I don't truly believe your esteemed uncle would commit fratricide, but no stone must be left unturned. After supper on the night Valero died, His Grace accompanied the king to his chambers. I did not listen to their conversation, but a maid who was on duty at the time claimed she overheard snippets of an argument. About what? Apparently the king shouted out, "He's not ready yet." There are only words. These are the only words she remembered. Dinner was hours before at the time of death. How could Hugo have killed him? He could have slipped him a slow-acting poison, either on the stairs or while escorting the king into his chambers. I personally witnessed no such thing, but there's a slim possibility. Could the maid have been lying? I don't see why she would have been, unless someone might have convinced her to give this statement. Someone who wanted to cast aspersions on Hugo to throw us off her fair trail. Enough about the maid. Well, the counselors and aides I questioned admitted to sensing mistrust between the two brothers. But King Valero's paranoia on the stage of his life is well documented. If your account is accurate, we need to find out more. I share your sentiment. Given the potential uproar from accusing the Grand Vizier of murder, I wanted to inform you before proceeding. We must handle this delicately. Here are the next steps for your investigation. Titus stood at full attention. Oh, is there any pick-out for this? Or no? I suppose not. Probably the Grand Wiseman. I hate to say it, but keep looking into Sal. There's more to the Grand Wiseman than he's letting on. Very good, Your Majesty. I'll work diligently to uncover the truth as soon as possible. Titus bowed and bid me a good day before he turned and left. Alone once again, my thoughts returned to the investigation. I assured myself that the investigating Sal was the right course of action. I took no pleasure in it, but I was duty-bound to dispense God's justice. And if my suspicion turned out to be true, especially regarding a man of faith, begged the question, who could I trust? I took a piss in a visa. House Suzerain calls for an opposition vote. In a joint statement, several House Suzerain nobles have declared their support for the RPP. While the links between the Suzerains and the opposition are well known, open declarations which defy the monarchy are rare and signal weakening relationships between them and House Taurus. Interesting. Opposition figures lodge complaint against Rizian Radio. At Rizian Radio Central broadcasting location of Folk of the Tor. Several RPP figures have gathered to formally complain against the dominance the RNC enjoys on the airwaves. The opposition claims that due to all radio being state-controlled, there's no space for RPP viewpoints to be represented in the electoral campaign. Rizian Radio has already replied that they will continue to broadcast RNC ads as before. Well, now. Poll watchers. Indeed, we're getting poll watchers. Call from Chancellor Hagel. Here we go. Hagel will call you at night, agree to his 50-50 deal to get rid of Lesbia and get free ships. In the middle of the night, I was woken up by a knock on my bedroom door. I heard Pable's voice in the hallway. Sorry to wake you, Your Majesty, but there's an apparently urgent call for you downstairs. What would I put on the radio if I had total control over it? I don't know. Dad rock? That's about it. That's all I really got. Just a 24/7 Hall & Oates channel. Probably political propaganda. I'll be right out. I quickly dressed and joined Pable in the hallway. Any idea what the call's about? Pable shook his head. It's on the blue phone, so it's a world leader. Your aide will have more information. We walked through the palace corridors until we reached my study. An attendant stood ready with the blue phone. He informed me that Chancellor Emmerich Hagel was on the line. Pick it up. I picked up the phone. Good evening, Mr. Hagel. Hello, Mr. Taurus. I'm truly sorry to disturb you at this hour. We have unfinished business. What do you mean? The nationalization vote was unsuccessful, but the future of the trade zone is far from decided. Despite your refusal to grant self-determination to Morella and its mines, I still see a chance for cooperation between us. You're right. Our differing opinions on the MIT shouldn't keep us from making our other agreements. I'm happy you see it that way. Different as we are, there's one point on which we may agree. The Republic of Lesbia does not belong in the Miftian International Trade Zone. I agree that Prime Minister Alvarez's behavior during the meeting was appalling. As much as I personally dislike the man, he is a mere symptom of a disease called capitalism. Not to mention the alcoholism. Let me lay it out for you, Mr. Torres. Prime Minister Sultania is planning to reopen negotiations on the MIT's profit-sharing agreement. Any new version will have to be approved by 3 out of the 4 countries on the board. Say you want to make an agreement where Lesbia came away with nothing. As long as Vogsland approved it, it would still pass. Do you understand what I'm saying? I think I know what you're getting at, and I like it. You'll be invited to Morella for negotiations soon. I want to make sure Lesbia receives a small share as possible. At the end of the day, I'm only asking you to act in Rizia's best interest. Can you offer us any help? Approving the final agreement will help enough, I should think. Needless to say, we still expect that you will make up for the way Rizia treated Morella over the years. I'll see what I can do. Thank you. But if you do need further incentive, Vogsland cannot publicly support a monarchy like Rizia, especially after the way you voted. We can sell you our naval equipment, which, as I need not remind you, is vastly superior to Rizia's own. Make sure Lesbia winds up with nothing, and Vogsland will assist you with a significant upgrade. Tempting. Our navy could use the help. I don't need to convince you of Vogsland dominion over the sea. Our warships and submarines are second to none. Hey, Guinevere, what's up? You're all better now, Jonas? Glad to hear it, man. If I'm gonna stab Lesbia in the back, Rizzi will definitely need to be able to defend itself afterwards. That's the right idea. So can I count on your cooperation? You can. Exchange for the Navy deal you mentioned, I shall shrink Lesbia's share of the mints. Thank you. I'm glad this phone call was not a waste of both of our time. For some reason, my people are crazy about the Rizian royal family. Because of your history with the Valgos Empire, perhaps? Are you saying it's time to revive those old ties? I'm not saying anything, just thinking out loud. Good night, Your Majesty. Good night, Mr. Hagel. He hung up. Oh. Oh. Vogsland labor unions drive further decentralized economic growth and powers the workers. Building upon the foundations of Vogslandian socialism inspired by Emmerich Hagel's revolutionary ideas, labor unions are spearheading the next phase of decentralized economic growth and workers' empowerment in Vogsland. This unique form of socialism, emphasizing a federal economic organization of society, continues to reshape the nation's political and economic landscape. The Vogsland Workers' Cooperative, a successful example of Vogslandian socialism in practice, has led a remarkable 17% increase in productivity and an impressive 33% rise in worker satisfaction. Encouraged by these results, calls for the expansion of decentralized structures across various sectors of the economy have gained momentum. In light of these successes, Vogsland's Minister of Labor, Frida Albrechtsson, recently unveiled a new initiative in Hale aimed at further expanding infrastructure, promoting scientific and technological advancements. We believe that the principles of Vogslandian socialism offer a sustainable and equitable path for our nation's future, Albrechtsson stated during a press conference in Stahler. Hello, Jidkai. What's up? As Vogsland moves forward with Emmerich Hagel's vision of a decentralized, egalitarian society, the nation is solidifying its position as a leader in socialist thought and policymaking, both at home and abroad. With labor unions at the forefront of this movement, the ongoing development of Vogslandian socialism offers a promising blueprint for other nations seeking to implement similar reforms. And I'm glad they're always in tandem. It's always a socialist one with a capitalist one. Arcasian PMC descends on Maribone amid a resource extraction controversy. Oh shit. In the midst of a politically unstable situation in Maribone, the largest Arcasian PMC, Palantir Security Solutions, has deployed its forces to the resource-rich nation. Sources reveal that the Arcasian PMC has been contracted by several multinational corporations to secure and extract valuable natural resources amidst the chaos. Oh fuck. Oh fuck, that's brutal. Maribone, a country on the continent of Rica, has been grappling with internal strife and weak governance, leading to a power vacuum. This has opened doors for foreign interests to exploit the situation and extract the abundant resources such as oil, minerals, and rare earth metals present within Maribone's borders. Reports suggest that PSS has already established several forward operating bases near key resource extraction sites, raising concerns about the long-term implication of this move on Marrowbone's sovereignty. Yeah, man, I can fucking imagine. Oh, early voting starts in Calicobees. Very good, very good. We got the early voting now. RPP campaign reaches the Taurus Heartlands. RPP puts forward housing as campaign issues. Indeed, 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 indeed. Morella invites MITS members to discuss trade zone renegotiation. And here we are at the renegotiation. Let's see. I've been invited to Cavett, the capital Morella, for a meeting with Prime Minister Alma Saltania. Socialapitalism. Agreed. Agreed. Her government had expressed its dissatisfaction with the results of the MITS nationalization vote and demanded a renegotiation of the agreement. Fuck! My security detail and I exited our motorcade outside the gates of the People's Garden, Cavett's largest park. Originally known as the Imperial Gardens, it had served as a private strolling ground for the Emperor Meridia, then for the Reinhardt family during the Volgish occupation. When Morella reconquered Cavett in 1923, the vast green area was open to the public. Once immaculately landscaped with imported Volgish trees and flowers, the park was replanted with native Morellan flora and allowed to grow wild. Children played hide-and-seek in the tall grasses and raced each other up their conical hill in the center. What are we playing today? This is Suzerain. This is Suzerain. Alma Saltania greeted me inside the gates, accompanied by only a small security retinue. Welcome back to Morella, Mr. Taurus. It's good to see you again, Madam Prime Minister. And you, Mr. Taurus. We ended on a promising note the last time we saw each other. I hope we can continue that today. She motioned for me to follow her. A barely marked path led into the dense bamboo grove. We walked in, shadowed by our guards. This was all planted after the Vogs left. Amazing how fast it grows. As we kept walking, I noticed the corner of a wooden object peeking out from behind the stalks. I stopped and pushed the stalks aside. It appeared to be a memorial plaque, carved in traditional Volgish style. On it was a square-jawed man, Axel Reinhardt's exact double, triumphantly hoisting his sword atop the park's central hill. An inscription below it read, "In commemoration of the brave deeds of Otto Reinhardt, Viceroy of Pales and loyal servant to the Valgos Empire. The taking of Cavett, our punishment for siding with the wrong house in your War of Succession." Why keep it around reminders for Volgos' occupation? What a tragedy. Our houses should have found a peaceful compromise instead of dragging other countries into battle. I agree, with the caveat that Meridia wasn't dragged. They saw their alliance with the Azaro family as a way to gain power over Rizia. They race up canonical and non-canonical hills. They even sometimes venture to hills that are fan fiction. True. Non-canon-based hills. Losing territory to Volgsland was fair enough punishment. It's disgusting how the Reinhardt family has managed to stay in power all these years. Her eyebrows arched. Like the Taurus family, you mean? I walked right into that one. Yes, you did. Believe me, there's no love lost between Morella and the Reinhardts. We're happy to let them keep their little piece of land as long as they stay there. At the end of the path, we came to a small cylindrical building that looked strikingly different from anything else in the park. A traditional Morellan tea house, historically a place for exchange and a refuge from prying eyes. We had a seat inside as our guards kept watch outdoors. The low-ceilinged room was decorated wall-to-wall in colorful woven fabrics. In its center, smoke rose from a roaring fire pit up through a hole in the middle of the ceiling. A waiter came by with a tray of Sakar, Morellan tea biscuits. They looked delicious, but I ate before I came. This is Morellan tea culture, Mr. Taurus. It's impolite to refuse an offer of food. Alright, in that case, just one. We each took a biscuit off the tray. I bit into mine. It was dry, crumbly, and barely sweet. Perfect for washing down with a sip of tea. The waiter, however, seemed to have disappeared without serving us anything to drink. That's an oversight. Well, I'm sure he'll be over with our tea shortly. I noticed Saltania had left her biscuit uneaten. In the meantime, I admit that before... What a dick! Before the nationalization vote, I had held out hope that your kingdom would recognize its debt to Morella and agree to our plan. I was disappointed when that turned out not to be the case. Promise, once you talk to Morella, promise her energy stronger workers' rights, and talk to Dardia in her behalf for negotiation. I'm all for increasing Morella's profit share. Nationalization was simply too extreme of a solution. The biscuit had drained all the moisture from my mouth, rendering my speech incoherent. I would like to once again emphasize that the country of Morella will not go back on the way things were. Don't say anything. To stay silent, my mouth still full of biscuits. Altania leaned forward. Neither of us wants to resort to military measures, but I will say this. Both Vogsland and Morella have kept a close eye on the Rizian populace, particularly your youth. I believe there's a certain spirit in your country, one that, if given a proper support and channels, could bring about monumental change. I didn't say anything. If you're willing to agree on the ITZ proposal that is fair and equitable towards Morella, you won't have to find out whether I'm right. She gave a tiny nod. Our waiter stepped over with a pot of tea and 2 intricately ornamented ceramic cups. Must be rude with biscuits. Must never be rude with biscuits. I guess so. Once he'd filled mine, I drank immediately. The hot tea nearly scalded my throat, but I could speak again. I've been willing to negotiate with you from the start, Miss Saltania. No need for biscuit torture. She blinked innocently. I'm truly sorry. I have no idea what took our waiter so long. She nibbled on the corner of her own biscuit, then took a slow, deliberate sip of tea. You should know that, while the MITS as a whole will not be nationalized, Morella and Vogsland has come to an agreement on our own. Chancellor Hagel is turning over his country's stake in the trade zone to Morella in exchange for standard compensation and continued presence on the board. That's only fair. He did say he wanted to atone for Valgos' empire's misdeeds. It's a step in the right direction. So Morella will have 50% share in the MITS. What else could you want? I'll tell you. If Morella is to approve any agreement from the Mifty and ITZ, it should include better worker protections at the very minimum. That means regulations similar to the ones you already passed in Rizia apply to every company that is active in the trade zone. That's only fair. Company standards should be the same no matter the country in which it's operating. Thank you for agreeing. The mortality risk of miners working in the trade zone is twice as high as that of regular Morellans. The boost to our country's economies is not worth human lives. Hello, Trifrossi. People should always come before profit. A glib way of putting it, but yes. If that is absolutely not an option for Rizia, we would ask for one of the following. A financial contribution towards the rehabilitation of the Arfeld River watershed. We've had our experts draw up an initial plan. It includes river cleaning initiatives, water purification systems for affected communities, and an increased penalty for environmental violations committed by mining companies. I won't lie, it'll be costly. But I hope you'll agree that it's necessary to step towards rebuilding the trust between ITZ partners. I'm willing to pay whatever it takes to clean up our mess, the mess our company made. I'm not excluding Morella from this responsibility, but we should not bear the burden alone. Alternatively, we would like to discuss a favorable energy supply arrangement with Rizian oil and gas, with all necessary infrastructure handled and paid for by your government. Our energy stores are as robust as ever. Lastly, we require assistance in dealing with the Dardians attempting to infiltrate our border. Gladly, those radical Golcondists are a threat to all of us. Most of the Dardian entering Morella are trying to migrate to Rizia, so this is your problems as much as it is ours. Asmal refuses to talk to me. Can you guess why? Because you're a woman? Exactly. The Supreme Wise Man refuses to negotiate with female leaders. I have a hunch you will respect the king and fellow Rushist. Surely we'll be able to find common ground. One would think. Anyway, that's everything from our side. Do we have an agreement, or are there other options you'd like to discuss? Here's what I propose. Let's see. I want the new MITS agreement to split the trade zone shares 50-50. Rizia and Morel, Lesbian will get nothing. She nodded earnestly. Lesbia is closer to Rizia than to Morella. I hope you're prepared for the repercussions. We will be in touch shortly regarding the exact details. I expect that Rizia will hold on to whatever promises are made. Halaita, if it is said, so it will be. So it is, so it will be. Right. She stood up and pushed her chair back. Feel free to take a biscuit for the trip home if you'd like. Yes, please. I can't get enough of them. That's surprising. I hear they're an acquired taste to outsiders. But take as many as you'd like. We left the tea house and joined our guards outside. Jeez. Jesus, man. Jesus. Jesus. The diplomatic mission is still ongoing. RNC campaign closing event turnout outshines the RPP. Wow. Wow. RPP closes its campaign in Bronaz. RNC closes its campaign in Monkey. Very good. On the return flight, in air, over Morella and Rizian border. I took my first class seat in the plane that had been chartered for my return flight from Morella. Looking outside the window, I could see Argno and the mountains. The future of our relationship with Morella in the midst was in my head. I took a look at the papers in front of me. Here we go. There we go. Proposal for Rizia to buy Lesbia's share in the Miftian International Trade Zone. Morella will approve the sale of Lesbia's share in the Miftian International Trade Zone to Rizia in exchange for the following concessions. Rizia's renegotiation concessions. In exchange for taking over Lesbia's share and renegotiating in the midst, Rizia agrees to the following. Select at least one. Let's see. Strict labor controls. Very good. Reparations for the Arfeld River pollution. That's not on this list, so I will not press it. Energy agreement and speak with Derdia on Morella's behalf. Yes. Energy agreement? Yes. Promise her energy, stronger worker rights, and talk to Derdia. Good. No reparations for the Arfeld, though. Sorry. I reviewed the agreement once more before signing it. The pilot announced that our descent into Port Drazon had begun, and I fastened my seatbelt. Have a fish-tastic night, Seal. Oh, and a Seal night. Have a Seal night. Seal, good to see you. Thanks for stopping in. My seatbelt had been fastened, brother. Stricter regulations in the midst. Stricter regulations on the midst. Grand Sanctuary construction faces timber shortage. The construction of the expansion of the Salabas Dasners Grand Sanctuary is experiencing setbacks due to a critical shortage of quality timber. With the current high market demand for timber, obtaining the necessary resources has become a challenge. The options to address this include seeking alternative timber sources, though possibly at a higher cost. Another is using different construction materials, thus ensuring the sanctuary's aesthetic and spiritual integrity remains intact. Alternatively, the project could be delayed until the timber market stabilizes. Use my own national timber. Draw from Rizia's timber market. Done. Kingdom's Timber Fuels Sacred Build. Look at us, dude. Look at us. Follow up on the Mitz and Morella negotiation. Glad this is over. Not long after my return to Morella, Elna and Lorento requested a meeting with me. Prime Minister Sultanian ministers had sent feedback following our Mitz negotiations. The future of the trade zone now hang in the balance. We convened in the council chamber. My counselors greeted me with smiles on their faces. Your Majesty, I hope you're rested from your trip. Barely, but it'll have to do. I do hope you can rest more easily after today's meeting. As do I, Your Majesty. Lorento shuffled through some documents. The Morellan Foreign Ministry has completed their review of our draft proposal for the renegotiated MITs. Fortunately, they are satisfied with our offer. Amazing news. I knew I was a great negotiator. We did promise Morella quite a bit. Come now, Elno, the renewed goodwill between our countries will be worth it. We'll get no such goodwill from Mr. Alvarez, I imagine. I confess I'm not looking forward to his reaction. Look on the bright side. Chancellor Hagel will love us after this. Lorento still looked troubled. Yes, the Chancellor will undoubtedly be pleased. I almost forgot. Prime Minister Sultania has sent us a gift to commemorate our successful negotiation. He presented me with a wooden box. I opened it, and opened it to reveal a shiny, brightly painted bird with a wind-up key stuck in its back. It's a model of a Morellan meadowlark, indigenous to the Arfeld River watershed. It's beautiful. Pass on my thanks. I will. As for concessions Rizia has agreed to make, He nodded to Elna. She opened her ledger. Rizian Oil and Gas will begin to work on a pipeline from Rizzi to Morella in order to fulfill the energy deal we have promised. If all goes well, it will be completed in time for the gas to start flowing once the new MITS agreement is ratified. We're working with the Morellans to come up with a plan for the implementations of stricter labor and environmental regulations in the MITS. I'm currently in talks with the Dardian Foreign Ministry. You should be able to meet the Supreme Wiseman Asmal soon to discuss Prime Minister Sultania's request. The Dardians did wish to communicate their discontent with Rizia's treatment of Galcondists. I suspect you will not get very far with Mr. Asmal without making a few changes. We are both men of faith. The Lord will guide us to an understanding. I am sure that he will. Elna took a last look at her ledger, then gently closed it. I admit I had my doubts about making such a drastic change, but if we follow through on this agreement, it'll be the coup of the century. Thank you both for your hard work and advice. You're too kind, Your Majesty. While we have you, word on pails? He nodded at Elna. Ah, right, yes. Rizian Oil and Gas is finishing up work on the pipeline that will carry gas from the Arius field to Rizia. Once drilling begins next year, we can expect high returns, even factoring in the royalties we'll have to pay to Pails. There's one small snag. The Pelesians are requesting that we send a diplomatic liaison to Castle Reinhardt to oversee the last stage of the deal. Everything's been running smoothly so far. I'm sure it's just a standard precaution. A reasonable request, as long as it's not too long. It should only be for a short while, Your Majesty. I assume we'll be sending a diplomatic envoy then? We certainly could do so, but Duke Reinhardt's ministers have hinted that he would prefer the presence of a higher-level individual. This seems like a mostly symbolic position, geared towards someone young, energetic, quick-witted, someone who commands respect, but is able to leave the capital for 6-month stretch without it affecting government operations. He and Elna slowly turn to look at each other, realization dawning on their faces. And we do know the Duke enjoys the company of the fairer sex. Say no more, I'll talk to Vina. I'm certain Her Highness would be a great help, Your Majesty, but it's up to you and the Princess, of course. You don't have to make the decision right away, but the Pelesians are expecting an answer soon. I'll speak with Vina, and I'll let you know what she says. Thank you, Your Majesty. We've gone long past our allotted time. Why don't we call it a day? An excellent suggestion as usual, Miss Werner. The three of us wrapped up our meeting and went our separate ways. Oof. Oof. I got the bird, brother. I got the bird. Ooh. Ooh. I got the fucking bird. They give me the bird. They give me a bird. Alright, I want to finish this chapter, this turn, before we end the stream. Before we end the Squeerest stream. Trade deal with Morella. Low territorial integrity. Morella gas exports. Let's see. Rizia and Morella relationships improve. Very good. Morella and Rizia sign energy agreement, and Raqqa emerges as buffer zone. Global trade power. Federation of the Enrakan Islands. Collection of strategically located islands between the continents of Mercopa and Catania. Positioning itself as a significant buffer zone and global trade power amid escalating tensions between UC and Arcasia. Enrakan's naval strength has been a key factor in maintaining its influence in the region. With a powerful fleet protecting its maritime borders, the Federation has managed to establish and maintain open trade routes, even amidst the ongoing confrontation between UC and Arcasia. This has enabled Enraka to attract business from both countries, positioning itself as a neutral ground for global trade and economic cooperation. Vogsland sends the naval aid. Very good. Thank yous. Save the Arfeld condemns Rizia's continued inaction. Construction begins on the Rizia energy pipeline. Sultania promises MITS agreement support. Assault on the Rizian citizens by Swordish tourists. Send the Swordish tourists back to Swordland. The peaceful streets of Valanquir have been shaken by the scandalous incident. A group of Swordish tourists have been accused of brutally assaulting a Rizian citizen. This event has sparked a heated debate across the nation. Public outcry demands justice, while diplomatic considerations urge a more measured response. The decision on how to handle these foreign tourists could strain Rizian-Swordish relations and set a precedent for future interaction. Send the Swordish tourists back to Swordland. Vogsland is friendly with us. Swordish tourists to be returned. Rizia opts for diplomatic solution in Valanquir incident. Extradite the Swordish tourists accused of assaulting in Valanquir to Swordland is a significant diplomatic gesture. This move, seemingly aimed at preserving international relations, underlines the complexity of managing justice in a global context. While it's drawn criticism from some quarters for potentially compromising internal justice, it also reflects a pragmatic approach to foreign policy. General Carlos Azarov is the Reclamation War Memorial. Swordland starts trial against accused tourists. Visit to the Esquiros gas field. Dang. I had invited Vina on a yacht trip from Topes out to view the Esquiros gas field. I hadn't visited since its expansion had been completed, and it had been a long time since my daughter and I had talked. The Rizania was anchored a few hundred meters offshore. I stood on the aft deck awaiting Vina's arrival. Claiming she was tired of being hounded by the press, she'd asked to take a dinghy incognito from a nearby port. As the small craft pulled up alongside my yacht, I realized my daughter wasn't alone. She secured the boat and climbed out to join me on the deck, followed by Manus Saison. Hello, father. Yes, greetings, your majesty. Manus bowed. The two of them regarded me nervously. Uh-oh. What a pleasant surprise, Vina. Why didn't you tell me you'd be bringing company? Vina breathed a sigh of relief. Sorry, father. I wasn't sure how you'd react. Wanted a chance for the three of us to speak in private, out of the way of the press. Good idea. We three have a lot to talk about. Yes, we do. The yacht pulled up anchor and we began our journey out to the Esquiros field. Esquiros. As we ascended to the upper deck, I noted the Rizania's shabby state of repairs. The paint was peeling in places and a few fixtures were rusted. What a piece of junk. I should have it scrapped. Our country shouldn't have to pay for upkeep of the king's luxury vessel anyway. Don't you think so? Ah, well, if the king believes such a craft is no longer necessary, I wouldn't dare to disagree with him. What a bitch. We settled around a table on the upper deck. A server came around with orange juice and light refreshments. I looked around. We were surrounded by open ocean, with the gas field yet to come into view. So, father, your majesty, They looked at each other and laughed. Spit it out, you two. Manus nodded to my daughter. Well, father, I don't think it's a secret that the two of us connected in Salivus. We've been corresponding since then and speaking on the phone when we've had time. I confess I withheld my feelings at first, fearing reprisal from the king. Yet the more we spoke and wrote, the more I realized what a fool I'd been to walk away from such a beautiful, inspiring... woman. Vina blushed furiously. We both know better than to rush into marriage, but it is our hope that you will give your blessing to our relationship. It's not my blessing you should worry about, but God's. You don't need my blessing. Vina's a grown woman and her romantic life is none of my business. Vina's eyes sparkled. Thank you, father. Of course I see it the same way, but it means a lot to hear it from you. But Vina, there's something more important I wanted to bring up with you, about Pales. She looked at me in confusion. What about Pales? They are requesting a diplomatic liaison for our gas deal. I said I knew just the woman for the job. Really? She hesitated. Are you sure they'd want me, father? I've never carried out diplomatic duties before. If you can serve on the council, you can do this. It's good preparation for being queen. I'd love to. She looked at Manus, reached over, and squeezed her hand reassuringly. It's a wonderful opportunity, Your Highness. You should take it. I would only ask that we refrain from publicizing your relationship until Vina's return. Manus reached over and squeezed Vina's hand. She sighed. I suppose we've waited this long. For you, Your Highness. I will wait an eternity. Oh! They embraced tightly. A content silence descended. After a while, faint industrial noises began puncturing the quiet. We were nearing the Esquiros gas field. Come. Going to the bow to have a closer look, you may join if you wish. They exchanged uneasy looks, then rose and walked to join me at the ship's bow. The expanded gas field was a sight to behold. A veritable city of metal drilling rigs rose out of the sea in front of us, connected by a labyrinth of platforms, cables, and pipelines. Make sure to mention this when you're in Pales, Vina. We have our own gas. We're not desperate for the Grand Dukes. This investment had better be worth it. Worth the destruction of maritime habitats. I hope so, too. Manus squeezed your shoulder. We'd rather we go back to coal and oil. This is the cleanest, safest energy source out there. Except for my Providence's hydroelectric dam, of course. You have our thanks for that, Your Majesty. Greater energy independence Independence is a win for us all, Mr. Cezanne. Yes, both my house and the RPP are happy to see Rizia making progress on that front. The Rizania completed a slow circle around the gas field and began heading back towards the Topes Harbor. I'll head out on the dinghy before we reach port. Wouldn't want anybody getting the wrong ideas. Don't worry, it won't be long before you can step off the arm in arm with Vina. He turned to look in Vina's eyes. The time will pass in an instant, love. I'll make sure of it. The deal will go off without a hitch. Manus kissed her passionately, then swiftly made his exit down the stairs. A few moments later, I heard the thrum of a dinghy's engine and a metallic clunk as it detached from the yacht's docking platform. Vina slumped against the bow's railing. I'd rarely seen her this forlorn. Pining over a man? That's not the Vina I know. Nor the Vina I know, but what can I do? We stood there for a while, watching the little boat as it disappeared towards the shore. I should have this thing scrapped. Scrap and sell the boat. My authority! The monarchy's grand yacht Rizania, commissioned in 1901, now shows signs of wear and tear. While its restoration holds deep symbolic value, it also demands considerable time and resources. The alternative is to sell the antique piece. Scrap it. Alright, that's that. Princess Vina takes diplomatic assignment in Pales. Rufus Gragg's royal gossip Vixel to become an item. Gross. Alright, let's sign some fucking shit. Sell the subs. Let's sell the subs. Trade. Sell. First batch of military submarines to the international market. Very good. Doo-dee-doo-dee. Valanqueer's heavy industry. Good. Essential materials like steel and construction material. Good to know. And addiction treatment center. Oh. Addiction treatment center. Like, the building? Addiction treatment center. Welfare? Ah, addiction treatment centers. A network of addiction treatment centers will be established across the kingdom to support individuals seeking help for substance abuse. These centers will offer medical care, counseling, and rehabilitation services, ensuring access to comprehensive recovery resources. Hello, Jidakai. Sign me. Nice. Heavy industrial park. Hydroelectric dam is still being built, actually. When is the Pales deal done? Oh, Pale Stream is also... Damn, dude, these are fair... Oh god, you gotta think ahead by quite a bit. Path to recovery? Bold step towards the industrial future of Valanqueer. Could not be me. Oh yeah, let's hit the continue button. I think we only ticked up one more energy point. Rough. Rough, dude, rough. My energy, but my fucking economy is booming. Is Lesbia a desert, dude? Montacala. Alright, we are now on turn 6. We're getting there. We're fucking getting there, dude. Good stuff. Oh, it's Little Funky Town. Oh god! Alright, everybody. That was Suzerain Sunday, it seems. I am going to go. I'm gonna go take it easy, send out a bunch of text messages tonight. Then I'm gonna... make a schedule. I hope everybody else has a good night. See you all tomorrow for something. Who knows? Bye-bye, Johnny.